Okay. Welcome to the ILiA Support Pod. I'm Beth Bullhofer. We have a huge panel of people. We're going to talk about the Embodied Integral event in Boulder, April 3rd through 5th, 2025. And I'm going to turn it right over to Michael to present the program. Michael, what's going to happen at the program? What can we look for?
Hopefully a lot of wonderful things. Let me talk about process first. We met first as a group of facilitators at the beginning of August, and we just got organized. We started to collaborate right away. And some wonderful suggestions came from folks like Juanita Robertson and Allison Conte and Adam Leonard Tier and others that had us looking for some type of thread, golden thread, a unifying theme, so that we could start building this particular program in a collaborative way. And I think we're making progress in that regard, and we'll continue to. The theme of the journey, which is different than what we typically think of as the hero's journey, this is much more of a process by which we'll come together in community across 3 days in the beginning of April, and we will begin to prepare ourselves for a journey of an embodied experience. And together we'll move through that journey, packing our packs, adding the skills and the practices we need to support us across this 3-day journey. And then we'll engage in the experience. It'll be, of course, an integral experience, which has us being able to meet everything along the journey through mind, body, spirit, emotion, and find ourselves operating across quadrants, levels, and lines as we serve our community that we are part of. And I love that central idea that we are experiencing something and we are creating the experience simultaneously. But it's a full intention to integrate masculine and feminine, to be able to provide an environment that is self-supported, but also mutually supported, and where compassion and courage and strength can co-arise and co-support us as we move through the experience. So as facilitators, you're invited to propose some sessions and propose where you might want to put your session or sessions into the overall journey of 3 days. Is it in the preparatory phase? Is it in the beginning stages of the journey, the middle of the journey? Or is it further down as we begin to collect the experiences we've had and make sense of them and kind of prepare for any future activities in our lives as we begin to conclude the experience? So when we come together in our planning meeting, their next planning meeting is set for November 14th in the late afternoon for you Pacific folks, early evening for us others. By the way, it's really difficult to find a mutually agreeable time for all of us to meet. So we can start to think about doing these coordinating and collaborative co-creations of this event virtually as well, asynchronously, because it's going to be unlikely that we'll be able to meet together all the time. But that's the intent, is of bringing us together, offering up what do we want to bring as a facilitated experience. And I want to put a little emphasis on that our desire is to create a facilitated embodied experience. Sometimes the integral community can be criticized for being overly intellectual, overly much in our heads. And the intention for this embodied integral experience is to be in our bodies, to be in support of our bodies. And of course, in full integral experience, can't just simply be in the body, but there is a sense that that is what is going to be primary, first and foremost, from the facilitator's perspective, to be able to help the journeyers through the experience and ensure that they're creating truly an experience that others can immerse themselves in. So that's our intent. The next meeting will have us come together as facilitators to begin to shape this and make it fit within the context of the overall golden thread of the journey, but also be able to ensure that we as facilitators are creating an experience of high value for all of us. So I'll just stop there and just lean into any questions or thoughts that others may have about what you've heard thus far.
I have a question, Michael.
Go for it, Tom.
So these facilitated sessions, will they be prior to the workshop in Boulder?
No, it's actually, these are part of the whole entire experience. So it's woven through. So every single experience, whether it's a 60-minute, 90-minute, or longer experience, is intended to kind of be within the agenda, the overall flow of the agenda.
So
And Tom,
Michael,
that doesn't preclude us from doing any pre-experience or post-experience. We can build that on the front end and back end of the 3 days. And we are certainly open to doing that.
Yes,
Yes.
I did just want to remind us that that phrase this as being one single thread, and we know because we've been working with it, and I want to make sure that we've got this clear. This is my understanding. That's the predominant experience, but we do have 4 spaces. There's small, 3 other spaces other than the big space that we plan on doing a breaking into various activities, various expressions, and so those facilitators might be facilitating a big piece in the main room for 80 people, or they might want to be facilitating smaller offshoots of activities and experiences in this other way. So it's primarily a single thread, but it's not all a single thread. Do I have that correct, Michael?
Yeah, Kim, I think that's a great add in that, not everybody's going to want to be in the overall experience all the time. An example of that is that we do have this intent to invite everyone to collect artifacts, to create memorabilia. Is there something you want to go into the art room and create to help you really land fully in something you just experienced? Absolutely. So we're not going to force anybody to be always part of the main thread, but there is going to be a main thread that's going to be happening. And then these other spaces will be utilized for, various ways of integrating, or maybe it's just taking a rest. Maybe one of the spaces for us over 60 is a nap space.
Hey, it's not just for over 60. I wouldn't mind going there too. All right, any other quick questions for Michael before we go to the facilitators giving a little insight into what they're working on lately? Okay, Karen.
How full is the program? Are you still looking for activities to fill it in, or do you pretty much know who's going to be doing what when?
No, I think we're still open, Karen, to inviting others to facilitate various experiences for sure. One of the nice things about us postponing the event, we were originally going to do this event in Boulder last year. The Deion Sanders and the rise of the Colorado Buffaloes made that really difficult because our weekend really coincided with the rise of this football team. But what it did afford us is the opportunity to look at this event and expand it, allow us to create more space. And as Bet and Kim were saying earlier, to create kind of that main thread so that we didn't force the choices that sometimes are forced for events like this. So absolutely.
Michael, I wonder, is there some objective of the whole event? A mission statement or what have you? What is the purpose of it all?
Yeah, there is a core purpose, and it's beginning to emerge, truthfully, and that is that we want to serve the practitioners, serve the folks who are bringing integral into the world, and to provide you, to help you be more capable bringing integral to the world after the event than you were before. So it is very practical in that regard. So as you begin to hear from our facilitators, I think that will start to crystallize for you.
All right, we have a hand. Holly.
Yeah, just quick question, Michael. I loved your description of the extra, or I forget who asked the question, but the extra spaces, and it actually caused me to reflect, because I've been trying to like, how do you fit all of an embodied experience in a, in one session? And like, wow, okay, so there's another opportunity. Like something doesn't fit in that main session, I could bring it to a session later that's way more practical, embodied, experiential. That actually really excites me.
Yeah, and I love that, Holly. And remember when we had our first facilitator call, Juanita and Allison talked about the possibility of threading something across time. So this idea of maybe two facilitators working together to utilize two 60-minute periods, one kind of in the middle, the other one towards the end. But that's what they're working on together. In fact, they were meeting in Boulder this week to strategize what that might look like. They couldn't attend tonight, but certainly wanted us to know that they were working on something in that spirit.
Great, thank you.
All right, let's now go to our facilitators, and just to demonstrate, I'm just going to go first. All right, so let me actually spell. Okay. I'm Bette Bolhofer, and I'm a yoga teacher, but I've been in tech for 25 years. I just every year it gets longer. And my obsession is with the spiral and how people move from level to level. And along with Tyler Davis, we're doing a session on pain and discomfort. The word pain actually has so many connotations, it's really challenging to pin down what we're talking about. But when people move from one level to the next, it is a choice because many times they're shoved, pulled, yanked to have to go to the next level. There's always an option to go back and retreat. And in our world, when when you have discomfort and pain, a lot of times you can numb it out. You can use hundreds of different systems to numb out your systems, such as alcohol, drugs, Instagram, TikTok, the digital fentanyl of our world. You can become extra busy. There's sex addiction. There's literally a huge platter of different kinds of ways to numb out the pain that we all face as we face our next challenge and growing. So Tyler and I will be exploring through physical exercise, like actual physical exercise, because Tyler's a fitness trainer and I'm a yoga teacher. How do you notice the pain in your body? And how do you recognize that this is something that is inspiring you to maybe grow, to get a coach, to learn how to expand your business? There's so many different options that you can take when that internal pain is coming up. So we're going to be exploring that at the Embodied Integral event in April, Boulder 2025, April 3rd to 5th. Thank you. All right, that's an example, people. Who's next? Who wants to go next? Not to put anyone on the spot.
Well, Bette, I'll be happy to go next.
Michael.
Thank you. One of the things that I'm going to bring to the embodied experience are what are called micro practices.
Michael, don't forget to say who you are.
Sure, Michael McElhenney. These micro practices are small, little 2 to 3, 4, 5-minute practices that are integral in their nature. They're made up of multiple minor techniques that fit within a unified practice and all aligned with an intention about how we want to show up in the next moment following the micro practice. So micro practices are behavioral alignment tools, but also, again, integrally oriented that are helping us orient mind, body, spirit, and emotion towards that next moment so we can better live our intentions. These have been experimented with through COVID, for example, in helping doctors and nurses deal with the unusual conditions that COVID invited us. And they're a version of, or a mirroring, or an echo of the work that Adam Leonard and his colleagues did years ago around integral life practice. in some respects, it's taking those core intentions and bringing them up into these really wonderful little juicy bite-sized pieces that show to be highly effective in helping us deal with the stressors and challenges of everyday life. So my intention is to bring these micro practices early in the 3-day process, early in the journey, almost like you're packing your pack full of these micro practices so that they support you in some of the challenges and the conversations and the experiences you have throughout the 3-day event. Because we imagine that some of the experiences we invite people into may be challenging for them. Maybe some of the experiences are inviting us into challenging dialogue, difficult conversations, conflict even. And so we want to make sure that people have the practices they need to be able to show up in the way that they want to and get the greatest value from those experiences. So yeah, I'm bringing micro practices as a early experience within the journey.
Awesome, Michael. I'm so excited. Micro practices are so cool. I know Karen's a big fan. All right. Holly, you were jumping out of your seat. You want to go next?
Not sure I was jumping out of my seat. Holly Woods. I'm a longtime 40+ year practitioner, coach, scientist, consultant in the transformational arena, and use integral as a framework for my work. In the last several years, I've evolved my work with clients. I mostly work with, sorry, I have a cat here. I mostly work with innovators and founders and visionaries in helping them get clarity about who they are so they can really move into and live into their next expression in the world as they evolve into their next version of themselves. And so I've begun experiencing, just as a part of this work, my own life and in my work with clients, I've begun to experience kind of a life beyond my wildest imagination. I didn't know it was possible to arrive at this place in life. And I'm pretty excited to be living there myself and actually taking my own clients there. And so I'm calling this work Wild Beyonder, and there's several elements to it. Basically the several elements are learning to reclaim your radical wholeness. It is possible to become so clear and resolved in your current lifetime, and and I even acknowledge that I reclaimed lots of karmic past experiences. And so what happens when we reclaim those parts of us that were lost, we begin to have an experience of wholeness that is virtually impossible when we live these fractured and challenged lives. And so part of what I'm imagining is creating some activities that begin to help us as practitioners reclaim parts of us that have been lost in our current lifetimes. The second element is to align with what truly matters. I've been doing purpose work for decades and have learned how to help people gain really precise awareness about their purpose, to align and to then live into the next version of themselves through imagination exercises, and calling on both scientific frameworks and spiritual technologies. So the capacity to imagine a life of possibility beyond what we're currently living can create more alignment and coherence than we have access to regularly, and then amplifying that in our lives through an aliveness that most of us aren't living. So I think some of what I am really excited about bringing to this event is helping us all enliven into that next version of us that's beyond our current conception of self. Most of us, have a belief that we are the current identity, that we live in the world, and that that is, who we are and how we show up. Instead of imagining the next version of us, we can very playfully and imaginatively live into another version that's beyond our limited frame. And so I imagine that I'm going to, and this is still kind of unclear to me, but I think I'm going to be offering some exercises from each of these pillars that can be in a main session, and then probably some additional activities to further, integrating these exercises in smaller sessions. So that's it for me.
Ollie, I just can't wait. I'm so excited. It's going to be super fun. Just hanging out with you is going to be super fun, honestly. Okay, let's go over to Adam. Adam, you ready?
Am I off mute? Yes. Hi, everyone. Adam Leonard. I work within Google at the Google School for Leaders. And one thing I've always appreciated about Integral so much is its inclusion of both theory and practice. And, in many conversations with Ken Wilber about this, he's expressed that one of his greatest hopes for his AQUIL model and framework is that it will inspire people to practice and actually engage the territory that AQUIL so meticulously maps. And if we look at the Integral community and all of the incredible community gatherings that different folks like Tom and others have created, a balance of both of those is really important. And some of the community gatherings are more focused on the theory side and understanding the ideas behind Integral and pushing those forward. And what we're doing at ILiA is helping balance that with the practice side. And our intention is coming together in a community is to have it be very much experiential learning and to have a kind of multi-dimensional way of growing and learning from each other, highly experiential and practice-based. And so one thing I'm excited about is, in my work with Integral Life Practice is everybody that will be there will have practices, no doubt, already in motion. The question is, sometimes we can get lazy, and sometimes we kind of get into grooves, of course, and practices that really served an important purpose in the past. They've just kind of had some momentum and we haven't reevaluated them. And so this will be a really wonderful opportunity for all of us to come together with incredible people, fellow integralists and colleagues, and just kind of take a pause and step back in on the balcony and reevaluate our current practice life and what is truly serving us that we want to continue. And as we envision our future and the kind of opportunities that we want to step into, the kind of people that we want to grow into, we can ask ourselves, what are the practices that are most going to serve that future vision for ourselves and for the impact we want on the world? And we'll take advantage of the we space and we can learn from each other. There might be someone sitting right next to you, who has the practice that you haven't even considered that can unlock that future vision and that future evolution. So we'll be sharing and growing and kind of designing the future of our integral life practice. So that's one thing I look forward to then.
All right, that's amazing. It sounds so great. All right, so let's go to the rest of the folks on the session here, just free form, or you can raise your hand. What are things you want from this session? What are things that oh, Karen just was so fast. Karen, tell us about and unmute. What are you hoping to get out of this whole event?
What I would love to see, I've been dreaming about this for months and months and months, is a movement workshop. And I've actually talked a little bit with Bette and Tyler. I don't know if it works for this conference, but one of these conferences where it's over 3 days, we have maybe an hour each day, I don't know, say some music and go through, say, 2 of the first tier stages. How did we move when we were all hunter-gatherers? How did we move when we were all agriculturalists? And get some of us who do yoga and dance just kind of moving and grooving to the music. And this would take some thought and care, because I imagine it in my imagination, people could just sit in the room and not move. people who have frailties or are elderly or whatever can sit in chairs, chair dancing, and just have people like Bet who know what they're doing and can kind of make sure everybody stays safe, but kind of move to the music and move through the stages to music that's appropriate for the stages, and maybe do 2 of the stages on day 1, the next 2 stages on day 2, and the last 2 stages of tier 1 on day 3. And then I hope we have another ecstatic dance on the last day of day 3. And then we've all been kind of programmed. That's the way to get some movement into it and just take it in and absorb it. And I will make it, so that's my dream. If we don't do it something like it at this conference, maybe we'll work toward it at another one. And I'll also make an offer. I like to go to conferences and enjoy them. I actually prefer not to present, but if you have a space you need to fill, I could put something together on an embodied practice on somatizing involution and evolution, actually experiencing it in brief meditations. And I did a presentation on that at San Diego Integral in May of last year of 23, and I did a shorter version. So I could pull something together if you have a time slot you need to fill. But if you've got stuff for all your time slots, then I'd rather just come and attend and enjoy. That's my offer.
So fun, Karen. And are we gonna? It's Haka dance. Is that what it's called? Hoka?
Oh,
What is
I
it?
hope so. I turned Tyler Davis onto Haka dancing, and he just kept sending me these and ecstatic emails all night long.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't wait to Haka dance with Tyler. We're going to have a
get
dance off.
some purple and red energy. Is it red or is it purple, that dance?
That one is purple moving into red. The way I've seen, the most authentic version I've seen is a blend of red and purple. And it's, I mean, the most authentic version I've seen is not like the ones you see in rugby players. Those people are in an alternate state of consciousness. Their eyes are bugging out. And I mean, it's something to see.
Okay, great. And Eloy is telling us about somebody. If you want to do an intro, I think we're still definitely looking for different kind of presenters, and we have these breakout rooms. So there's a lot of opportunity. And by the way, ILiA is planning to do more events in the future. This is not the end of this, right? So we want to continue to recruit. Tom, talk to us.
So I think this embodiment workshop is going to be, it's really timely because embodiment is the container that really improves how we show up with each other. That if we can sit in that level of being, then we have more to share with each other. When you look at what Alan Combs said at ICON, that he's going to add a third axis to the Wobblecombe lattice, and it's intersubjectivity. And, you know, we're really looking at that in ICON is this the direction that wants to emerge and needs facilitation? So I think this is very timely what you're doing.
So,
Completely agree. As somebody who's always been moving around and fidgety, we need to be embodied. As Kim also, Kim was in the back of Icon, like, I don't know what were you doing back there, Kim, but you never sat down for 1 minute, did you?
And
Go
go
on.
on.
All right.
that's our game.
More people. I want to hear engagement here. Who else has ideas? What else should we bring to this? I know, Jane, you're not going to be there, but what do you want to inspire us with?
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to say, that I'm really bummed that I can't be there. I'm teaching out whole weekends, or that, you know, for a couple of the days of it anyway. And but embodied spirituality is really what our courses are about. You know, we teach integral ministry practice, and so there's a great book called Radical Wholeness, and not Ken. I've got Ken's newest book, but we also have Philip Shepard's book, Radical Wholeness, and he has so many of those kinds of things. And one of the things that really works for me is this practice where you just notice how how much you maybe are experiencing life from your head. Like the awareness is here, it's centered here. And so you consciously move it down until you get to the heart center and you just kind of pause there. At the same time, you feel your feet planted on the floor and you draw that groundedness up, up, up until it meets with the heart. And you're integrating top and bottom of the body in this activity. And then you notice how often we live from the front of our body. Like I'm in a hurry, I'm making progress, I'm moving forward. And yet, how much of our life do we experience from the back of our body? So then we go and we start feeling the back of the head all the way down the back of the body. And then again, you meet in the middle so that you're integrating back and front of the body. And so this whole experience of bringing it all together, it really helped me to see how often, I'm always saying this, I'm from the neck up, that's how I'm living, but it showed me how much I am doing that. But then the whole idea of the front of the body, that's where I experience life, I'm always on the go, was also very interesting. And so to do those kinds of exercises that actually integrate the body top to bottom, front to back, very, very powerful, I found.
Beautiful,
Okay, that's
beautiful.
awesome. Yeah,
In my
and I
yoga
wanna,
classes, sometimes that we do side, because the side body, how much do we forget about the side body? But yes,
beautiful.
it's interesting. All right, Michael.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring Eloy's comment in the room about Philip Shepard's, the slow, mindful movement to failure. Just love that. Love that as a concept. And it was brought recently to a yoga retreat I was in a few weeks back. And it's a darn difficult practice to stay in that space of slow, mindful movement and to do it till failure. And failure, by the way, doesn't come first in the body. May come from the heart, may come from the head, may come from lots of other places.
All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. There's a bunch of stuff happening in the chat. Tiffany, do you want to talk to us? You're putting a lot of things in the chat. It's probably easier just to hear from you. If you can find your unmute button.
Well, I'm in a cafe, but I was summing it up as music, dancing, food, mindful food, walks around the neighborhood. I didn't check out the area or the venue yet, but just seeing what's outside is nice. Opportunities to build relationships with each other and plan for future action or practice or collaboration. And then, yeah, just practical stuff, functional, integral living
Yeah.
options. That's what I got.
I am all about the food, people.
We know,
Kim knows.
we know. Okay, so really quickly, this Leslie Allen Coombs, Tom, and intersubjectivity, we space. What I find really interesting about spiral, when we're looking at spiral, going from individual to collective, when we're looking at development, why I'm fascinated with ILiA and always have been is I think that we've stressed integral leadership, growth of leaders, development of, in action, actually doing it. And to me, that's meant this conscious growth, the risk, the pain, the discomfort that of working out, of becoming better, of developing whatever endurance or strength or power we're looking for in any of our domains, that change to the collective. And I think it's something really cuspy and new we haven't really looked at, even in theory, is what does our collective look like at the next level? What is that, Tom, that space between us that we can actually practice and learn, because we can't even describe that yet. We don't know. I find that really fascinating.
I've been helping plan this event for like, I don't even know, like 2 years, 2.5 years, something. I'm more excited than I've ever been. This is my I have goosebumps. This is very exciting. So who hasn't said anything yet? Anyone else want to share anything? Anything coming up for you? Any other wishes and hopes and dreams?
I have an idea for a
All right.
facilitated workshop.
Mm.
Is some of you know that I work with highly sensitive people, and it's like they have some sort of genetic endowment for the deeply subtle, providing they can self-regulate to really upregulate when they really want to turn on the connection and the energy, and downregulate when they get flooded. That part of me thinks they're an evolutionary emergence that's going to save humanity because of that. So given that the incidence is 20%, even in the integral community, my own research showed it's 20%. I thought it'd be a lot higher in the integral community, but it is. But it's such a great endowment. If they can run it, it doesn't run them. When it runs them, they end up with generalized anxiety with and without panic attacks. So I just think they're low hanging fruit that, wow, they're embodied. The question is whether they can turn down the fire hose rate of presencing so that they're not all over the place. But if I can work that out, that might be interesting.
I love it,
Tom,
Tom. Yes,
Tom,
go.
can you tell us what are some of the names that these kind of folks go by? Like, what are common labels that they get named in normal society?
You know, a lot of people, they're always labeled as being too sensitive or isolating a lot because they need to recover when they're not doing well with it. And the trick is trying to identify them when they're in grade school so they can get a leg up and run with it.
All right. Yeah, well, another thing, Tom, that I've started reading some of your work and it's extremely interesting around couples. Is there anything coming up for you? I know that you're working towards retirement, right? Maybe you have more time to think, like, if we were to re-envision couples in the future, what would an integral couple, and it doesn't have to just be romantic, but maybe even like best friends or business partners. Do you have anything around that you might want to share with us either at this event or some future event?
You know, I could definitely do that. And my model is stage 4, where you begin to feel the abundance. I always say that a couple can do 85% right. It's the 15% wrong that becomes 80% of their evaluation. And it is so upside down when you consciously choose to live in the 85% of gratitude, the ambiance improves enormously. And that's the trick. It's not looking back to the chemistry and the novelty. It's looking at the abundance. And we've seen that in other domains. It's a no-brainer. But the practice day in and day out, get over the 15%. There's always going to be an edge where we're aware of the shortcomings, but why live there? You know, it's screwy. Or why live with all these pre-trans fallacies? I love watching romantic movies to see what they do with it and what stage do they end up in. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got into HSPs, is looking at stage 4 in couples and what it takes to show up in gratitude and hold that resonance. That is stage 4, where you're actually feeling the love that is a lot more abundant than where most people end up.
Bit mute.
I was so amazing, and I am going to work hard to recruit you, Tom, to do something at our event on either of these topics. Thumbs up in the audience. Yeah?
Definitely.
Yeah. We want this. We want this, Tom. I'm going to workshop you. All right. Any other thoughts before we start winding down today's session?
It's been
Later.
inspiring to hear from you. And I'm so glad we're leaning into this in the way that we are, and the spirit of co-creation and collaboration feels really alive here. So I'm excited.
And then there's Tyler, it's just creation with that baby. He'll join us as soon as he can, I don't know, sleep. All right.
Tyler is raising the next generation, which is very important. And Tiffany, can we have a integral parade? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are going to be parading all over. All right. Any final thoughts from anyone before we close up? Karen?
I love Tiffany's idea of an integral parade, and I'm going to throw in your favorite archetype cosplay. Show up as your favorite archetype and have a parade.
Awesome.
I'm going to come as a spiral wizard.
I'm going to come as a high priestess.
All right. Well, this is another ILiA Support Pod in the books. Everyone, like, subscribe, share with a friend. Let's all
Thanks for
bring
coming, folks.
5 people. Bring your 5 best friends to this event, people you haven't seen in a while, and we'll just have a great fun time hanging out, eating a lot of food, having a parade, dancing, and also having these fun sessions. And we'll see you there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey,